The 2025 NFL season has begun, but not just yet for your Buffalo Bills. On today's edition of the Bills Breakdown by Chat Sports, we're going to break down ESPN's full season preview for all 32 teams and what they had to say about your Buffalo Bills. My name is Tyler Smith, and let's get into these few quick tidbits that they had on the Bills before the season begins. The chances that the Buffalo has to make the playoffs, 81.1%. More than a 4 out of 5 chance as the Bills have it reaching the postseason, and I don't think that surprises too many Bills fans as they've dominated over the last 5 years in the regular season. And similarly, in their division, they've dominated over the last half decade. They have a 66.5% chance to win the AFC East. Now, where I start disagreeing with what ESPN had said is their projected win total for Buffalo there at 10.6. That's less than what the Vegas sportsbooks have to say at 11.5 for the Buffalo Bills, and I had them in my record prediction having 15 wins. I think a 3-win drop-off from last season is pretty far-fetched to me, and I think they're going to win a lot more games than that. They have the 9th easiest schedule according to ESPN, and I'm going to hear them out at least about what they have to say on Buffalo's biggest strengths, weaknesses, and some other bold predictions as well. Let's hop right into it. So ESPN decided to rank your Buffalo Bills as the 5th best team in the NFL. They had the Eagles above them. They had the Ravens above them. They had the Chiefs above them. Interesting. I don't know. I think the Buffalo Bills are as good as any football team in the National Football League this upcoming season, and I'm about to tell you guys why. First, though, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. All this information that we're bringing you on today's show is coming from an ESPN Plus article and a special preview for the NFL season. And look, it's behind a paywall. You know what's not behind a paywall, though? Buffalo Bills Breakdown by Chat Sports. It costs $120 a year for ESPN Plus, and if you want ESPN Unlimited, it's going to cost you like $30 a month or even more than that. So that's absolutely ridiculous. You're going to find all that content right here on the channel. $0 per year for the Buffalo Bills Breakdown. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel as we're approaching 6,000 subs. Trying to get there by the Week 1 matchup. We need 267 diehard Bills fans to go down below and hit that subscribe button. Turn those noties on as well. The biggest strength for your Buffalo Bills, to not many people surprised this upcoming year, is none other than number 17, Josh Allen. That was who ESPN identified as Buffalo's biggest strength. And look, it makes sense, right? He's the reigning MVP, just got a massive, most guaranteed money on a contract extension in NFL history, and rightfully so, right? He's the engine that makes this Buffalo team go and has been for the past half decade plus. Like, he's entering, I believe, years 8 of his NFL career now, maybe year 7 of his NFL career. And look, he's just been one of the league's premier talents over the past few seasons, right? Perennially throwing over 4,000 yards. He's going to have the best touchdown to interception ratio of his career last year. Has really cleaned up the turnovers throughout over the past couple of seasons. And look, he's as dynamic of an athlete at the position as there is in the entire league. I mean, look no further than this upcoming Sunday for, 1A or 1B in that department in Lamar Jackson. But Josh is as good as it gets. And like, this stat really stuck out to me. Like, Josh Allen has accounted for 40 or more total touchdowns for 5 consecutive seasons. 5 straight. Nobody else in league history has done that for 4 straight seasons. Josh Allen has not missed a football game since his rookie year. Who is to say that he's not going to replicate the production that we saw in 2024? Who's to say that we're not going to see even more production than we saw in 2024? The Bills had 32 touchdowns on the ground last year, including 16 from James Cook alone. I think just by law of averages, the passing numbers are going to go up for Josh Allen this year. The passing touchdown numbers are going to go up for Josh Allen this year. And look, if he's not on this roster, yeah, the Bills are looking really, really bleak because this team goes as Josh Allen goes. I know the Bills have, you could argue, one of the better rosters in the NFL, but not gonna lie, if you take Josh Allen off the roster, I think it goes quickly to not only below average, but maybe bottom 10, bottom 5 in the entire league. Think about the other things that are a strength on the Bills roster right now. The offensive line. How big of a strength would that actually be if you didn't have Josh Allen making them look so good out there? I know Deion Dawkins, Spencer Brown are really, really good bookend tackles, and the interior is above average as well. But, I mean, that offensive line is obsolete if you don't have Josh Allen back there. So he is the complete engine that makes this Bills teams go, and he's more than just the strength of the roster. He is the Buffalo Bills roster. What is the biggest weakness on the Bills roster, though, according to ESPN? That is the defense, and if the additions and the retooling of this defense in 2025, in the offseason, will be enough to get the Bills over this hump, because it's been pretty rough over the past couple of years when the Bills exit the postseason and you look at the final score, how many points the opposing team has. Here's what Alaina Getzenberg had to say about the Bills defense, saying the Bills heavily invested in the defensive line through the draft and free agency, and the health of defensive end Joey Bosa and some of the young players' abilities to develop will be key. There are also some real unknowns when it comes to the secondary, including the health of cornerbacks Tre'Davious White and Maxwell Hairston. You can also throw Christian Benford in there as well, who was practicing on Thursday but is a little bit dinged up as of late. And like I previously mentioned, with Buffalo going out pretty sad on the defensive end in the postseason, this is why. They have allowed 32.2 points per game in their last 5 playoff losses. And they allowed 22 in Josh's first playoff appearance against the Houston Texans way back when, but I don't really want to count that one all back when because Josh was still pretty raw, working out a lot of kinks in his game, and this Bills team is so much different over the last 3 or 4 seasons than we saw, back then. I think John Brown was still the number 1 receiver in Buffalo back in this Josh's first playoff game. Look, the defense has to be better, especially on the back end, and it's not going to be easy when you have a lot of injuries at that cornerback spot. Maxwell Hairston isn't playing for the first 4 weeks of the season. Tre'Davious White, there's a chance that he doesn't suit up on Sunday against the Baltimore Ravens. And Christian Benford, there's a good chance that he's at least not at 100% if he's good to go on Sunday against Baltimore. So it's not going to be easy. And another big facet of their defense here is that they're going to be depending on a lot of youth. Not only Maxwell Hairston, but also on their defensive line as well, where they made priority draft selections of a TJ Sanders in the 2nd round, of a Landon Jackson in the 3rd round, and of a Deion Walker in the 4th round, who you could argue looks as impactful as either of the other 2 so far in the preseason and could have a big, big role early on in his Bills tenure. So they're not only depending on old players like Trey White in their secondary, the guys who have been, or Matt Milano at their 2nd level, but they're also depending on really raw and I'd say underdeveloped, objectively underdeveloped prospects at this point in TJ Sanders, Landon Jackson, and Deion Walker. They're going to have big roles, including Maxwell Hairston as well, who has to get looped right into all this ordeal, very, very quickly after he comes back off of injured reserve. So there's question marks here, but I do think that Brandon Beane and the Bills, they've done a great job at finding these talents in the middle of the draft that I think they're going to show out in year 1 for sure. My whole take, though, is this. You must be above average at one of 2 things in the NFL in order to at least survive on defense, be able to win a Super Bowl on defense. Because if your defense isn't good enough, I'm sorry. I know it's about scoring points in this league, but you're not going to win the Super Bowl if your defense isn't at least passable. And in the last 5 playoff losses for Buffalo, they have not been passable. So they have to be at least above average in one of 2 things. 1, pass coverage, being able to just guard some of the league's best athletes on the boundaries and what have you. Or you can make those guys' jobs a lot easier and get to the quarterback. And that's not what Buffalo was able to do in the AFC Championship game against Patrick Mahomes. They did a great job of getting Lamar Jackson blitzing a lot in the divisional game, but when they went up against a much better offensive line in the AFC title game, and they were pretty obsolete in the pass rush game. So you got to be elite at one of 2 things. Cover your receivers or get to the quarterback and make those receivers' lives a lot worse and those cornerbacks' lives a lot easier. What's your confidence level in the Bills' defense upcoming this season? Scale for me down in the comment section. 1, meaning you have 0 confidence, no confidence in the world. They are cooked, no Super Bowl in the future. Or 100, meaning you get the most confidence in the world. This is going to be one of the best defenses in the entire National Football League. Let me know what you guys think. More ESPN predictions in just a second from that article over at ESPN Plus. That's why you subscribe to the channel. It's $0 every day on the Bills Breakdown. First, though, I got to tell you guys about our sponsor in the program, and that is PrizePicks. You and I make choices every day, but go make the right choice and use PrizePicks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports platform. You can win up to 2,000 times your money this football season watching your Buffalo Bills. Take advantage of all the deals that they have on PrizePicks. All you guys got to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 players and just pick more or less on their stat projections. It's that easy. I've won over $11,000 playing PrizePicks in my lifetime because I've been a customer even longer than they were a sponsor here at Chat Sports. So take it from me, a real user of the app. It's available in up to 45 states, and they always want to make it easier for you guys to win real money in real time. Like a free $50 in lineups instantly when you use our promo code CLNS and place your first $5 lineup. Here is my lineup for week 1. If you guys are confused as to how all this works, it's so simple, right? More or less. I got James Cook more than half a rushing or receiving touchdown. Get in the paint, number 4. Josh Allen, I got more than 31.5 rushing yards. He's going to do his work on the ground, and they give me a free square as well. Dak Prescott, more than half a passing yard. You know he hit that in Thursday Night Football. You can tell my picks or fade them. Just do it at PrizePicks. Download the app today and use code CLNS for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. The bold prediction coming from ESPN in their preseason preview is that Dalton Kincaid is going to have a monster season ahead. ESPN says Dalton Kincaid will record 900 receiving yards this upcoming season. And with the everybody eats approach, I mean, that would say that either Khalil Shakir might have a down year or Keon Coleman ain't having as big of a breakout as we originally thought. Dalton Kincaid getting a 900-yard season would be massive for the Buffalo Bills and massive for his development, as he was a first-round pick that has not lived up to the hype to this point. Seth Walder had this to say over at the ESPN Worldwide Leader. This is more of a feeling than anything else, but sometimes it takes a tight ends a few seasons to really settle in and make an impact. Kincaid was a highly touted prospect who flashed his potential in a 73-reception, 673-yard rookie season in 2023. Plus, there are still questions about other playmakers in Buffalo, so he ought to get his fair share of targets. Look, he is. I think he is, but you can't really discount a guy like Dawson Knox also still being in the rotation as well. Josh has so much familiarity with him, and there's other names in this receiving core that are making big splashes and big plays in the preseason and training camp as well. So it's going to be fairly difficult for Dalton Kincaid to emerge here in this Bills receiving room and tight end room for that matter, but I hope that he's been thinking about that last play of the AFC title game this past spring. I hope that's been racking his mind, that Josh Allen heave on 4th and long, and it was catchable. It was catchable at the end of the day. Now, I was looking back and forth between how many drops that Dalton Kincaid has. There's a couple different places that say that he had 6 last year, and PFF was saying he had only 2 last year. So I don't know, but in my opinion, just on the eye test, I think Dalton Kincaid has a little bit of a hands problem, and you can see based on last season, I mean, only bringing in 44 of his 75 reception or targets, and that's not to say that all those balls hit his hand, but he just hasn't been that reliable here. Now, the average did go up. He got up to about 10 yards a catch last season, and he hasn't really found the end zone all too much, so this really needs to be a breakout year for Dalton Kincaid if he wants any sort of future with the Bills long term. Brandon Beane said this about last season. He said, I would say Dalton didn't have the year that he expected or we expected. Nothing for any particular reason that I could say other than some durability things. He got nicked up during the season. Look, I don't know how honest Brandon Beane was being with that statement. I do think that the Bills are a little bit disappointed in the overall production and what Dalton Kincaid has been able to do to this point. But you make a good point there, Brandon. He did miss 3 games with a knee injury, and for a young player in this league, it is not easy to get back to 100% when you suffer a midseason injury, and then you're playing a long year as well, like extra football games into the postseason in addition to a 17-game season. So, look, Dalton Kincaid has to stay healthy this year in order for the Bills to have success, and that's just the reality of the situation. But my prediction, I will disagree with ESPN a little bit here. My prediction is that Josh Palmer will be the Bills' under-the-radar weapon here that goes on to have a 900-yard season. And he has not eclipsed that in his career so far, so this would be a very bold prediction considering I don't even think he's eclipsed 600 yards each of the past 2 years in Los Angeles. Look, it could be a breakout year. There's a reason that the Buffalo Bills gave him a 3-year, $36 million contract. I'm sorry. Like, I know it's not top-end wide receiver money, but he got a legit contract this year. $12 million is no slouch. It is absolutely starting wide receiver money in this league, and I think he deserves it, man. He's a really good route runner. He can work out of the slot. He can work on the boundary as well, and he's been a vertical threat many a times for Justin Herbert down in Los Angeles. But over the past couple of seasons, the numbers have gone down, and he really hasn't seen the breakout that we've wanted from Josh Palmer back, following the 2022 season where he had 770 yards. He had a couple touchdowns to his name, and he was looking like an emerging piece in the LA offense. But the last 2 seasons for Josh Palmer, it can't all be attributed to him because the passing volume has gone down significantly. I'm talking significantly in Los Angeles. If you look at the first 2 years of Josh Palmer's career, Justin Herbert threw over 650 attempts from the pocket both seasons. And then in each of the following previous 2 seasons, the passing attempts in Los Angeles has been somewhere around 500 and 450. So it's been absolutely sliced in a third. A third of the passing work has been completely eradicated from the Los Angeles Chargers offense, and Josh Palmer cannot be blamed for all that. And I think that Brandon Beane and them recognize that. That's why they gave him substantial money in free agency. And like I said with Josh earlier, expect more passing touchdowns this year as well. So that could bode well for a guy like Josh Palmer, who's a really good vertical threat, who could beat defenders down the sideline, taking the top off the defense and getting into the paint. I think it absolutely could bode well for him. It could bode well for Dalton Kincaid. It could bode well for everybody in that Bills receiver room, which is very young right now and needs a little bit boost of confidence. And the best way to do that is by scoring touchdowns. So I think we're going to see more passing touchdowns this year, and I think we're going to see a really, really big year out of Josh Palmer. If you guys are fired up for Sunday, man, I am absolutely jacked. Like the video. Go down below, smash that thumbs up icon if you're ready for Bills football to officially be back. We're getting a taste so far, but that 716 hasn't seen blue and red on the football field just yet. And make sure you subscribe to the channel. We just broke down ESPN's preseason preview for the Buffalo Bills, which if you are subscribed to ESPN Plus, you have to pay for. But if you're not and you're just subscribed to the Bills Breakdown, you don't have to pay a penny. So subscribe, turn those notifications on. We'll see you guys in the next one. And as always, let's go Buffalo.